The beginning of brand new adventures, along with fateful farewells, overwhelming hope and joy, unbearable tragedy and despair, life and death. All is found within the deep. However, to see all, one must cast all aside. To know all, one must first relinquish all. At the bottom of the pit, at the conclusion of the journey, what will one finally grasp? What is it that awaits? It is something that no one yet knows.
Are curses really curses? And are blessings truly blessings? This is what Akihito himself asked during the premiere of Made in Abyss. For many of us, good is what we strive for, and evil is what we try to escape. But is it truly possible? And even if it is it really what we want? When we choose to follow what we call goodness, we often become blind to the hidden curses and to the unexpected blessings that may lie on the other side, within what we call evil. The narrator suggests that if we want to escape this blindness and see the wholeness of life, we must first relinquish everything and cast it all aside. Albert Camus expressed a similar idea. In order to understand the world, one has to turn away from it on occasion. But casting aside what we strive for is incredibly difficult. It feels like betraying our own goals, the very things we find value in, and sometimes identify with. This is the dark side of truth. If we are not willing to face our own darkness, accept it, and make it part of ourselves, we cannot descend deeper or gain true understanding. We cannot escape the dangers of the abyss if we wish to know its secrets. The section I showed you guys is not actually from Season 1. It is the extra scene at the end of the first recap movie, Journey's Dawn. The entrance to the third layer is called Heaven's Waterfall. We see Nat and Shigi trying to estimate where Riko and Rei currently are, and they get it right, the Great Fault. The third layer is a 4,000-meter vertical drop-down, a circular shaft. The only viable way of traversing it is through a network of caverns, dens, and holes. These were likely formed both naturally and by delvers, ancient humans, and the Neritantans that live within them. The central shaft of this layer is significantly narrower in diameter than the other layers of the abyss. You can see its structure in this panel of the manga. The third layer, being a vertical shaft, is very mysterious and does not seem naturally formed. There are many theories about how the abyss formed in the first place. I remember reading an interesting one suggesting that in the beginning there was only the island of Earth and the Golden City on the surface, but a taboo was committed that caused the earth to devour them, sending everything to the planet's depths, where it was destroyed. I have another theory that matches what we see in the third layer better. This layer looks like the remains of an incinerator shot, probably fired from the sky, aiming toward the center of the earth. Or perhaps an ancient light, deep within the earth, incinerated its way from the core to the surface and created the chasm. I guess we have to wait decades to know the answer. Based on what Akihito has said so far, almost half of what he wanted to write is complete, so there is still a lot left to be written and animated.
In the abyss, there is nothing as impartial as death. For all living creatures, death is sure to eventually come. Death is the equalizer. It is an absolute truth, and it's always lingering just within reach of us. People make the best use of their wits and courage. Struggling, floundering, they cling to life until the very end. And soon we realize, this unjust and indifferent world, it's just the way we like it.
This narration truly affected me when I first heard it. I remember being in a deeply depressed stage of my life. Life did not seem fair to me, and I was searching for an answer. It was after reading Dostoevsky and Jung that I came to understand that what we truly like is life as it is, unjust and indifferent. We actually get to experience why in Season 2, in the village of Hollows. We will see how through balancing, the village became a fair society, yet many of its residents were still unsatisfied and dreamed of returning to challenge the unfair and dangerous abyss. We will talk about this in detail when we reach Season 2. Neritantans. There is an extra page about them in Volume 3. These small flat-bodied animals live in the roots of the plants that grow haphazardly within the cliff faces of the depth's third layer. The interiors of the hollow plant roots where Neritantans live commonly contain leaves which are brittle like cookies, flowers, and even fruits. Neritantans and these plants share a symbiotic relationship in which Neritantans disperse the seeds of the plants through their excrement. Their flat bodies are due to their flexible ribs. Reportedly, they can become thin and long and round and puffy by inhaling air as needed. Perhaps because of their fruit-based diet, their flesh is delicious, making it suitable for a wide range of dishes. As you can see in these pages of the manga, they live in the 7th layer as well. This is interesting since they might have found or built a tunnel to reach it. We see here that Riko uses Neritantans as bait to distract creatures. This might seem awful, and Riko herself is not comfortable doing so, but they remember what Ozen told them about the reality of the abyss. Unable to fly in the sky or run on walls, weaklings like us are simply picked off and eaten. The weaker species have no choice but to follow the path of the weak. There is no such thing as rights in nature, and humans invented them ourselves, mostly through religious belief. The abyss does not care whether you have a right to live or not. It is either eat or be eaten, the brutal roots of human nature that civilized people often forget. We reach this ship here. Many have theorized how a ship could end up in such a place deep within the abyss. Some say the abyss creates a new layer every 2000 years, and this ship ended up here when this layer was once the edge of the abyss. I do not really buy this theory. The truth is that we simply do not know. Even Akihito himself has probably not written an explanation yet. He often creates open mysteries and later works them naturally into the story. This is the only way I can imagine someone writing such a coherent and consistent plot. The story of this episode is quite different in the manga and much shorter. In the episode, Reg decides to use the incinerator on the Madoka Jack and kill it, after which the Splitjaw appears. In the manga, however, the Splitjaw appears first, and Reg does not use the incinerator. Riko throws a sun sphere to distract it, and Reg strikes it hard enough to push it away. They do not even use the blaze rip, and the third layer essentially concludes there in the manga. In the episode, on the other hand, we see an entirely new and much longer plot. After escaping the attack, Reg loses consciousness from using the incinerator, leaving Riko alone, trying to survive. It is a great choice to see how Riko handles herself alone and how limited she truly is as a child. She becomes extremely hungry and follows the smell of broccoches and falls into a trap. This ball-sack-like creature is called Amakagame. It lures Neritantans using the smell of their food. The design is definitely intentional. That's all I say. After escaping the ball-sack's belly, Neritantans follow Riko, and in order to escape, she has no choice but to ascend. This scene is really deep. As I mentioned in previous episodes, I believe the third layer symbolizes the stage of life where we must put in immense effort that may not even yield results. This is where most people give up, and the temptation to turn back begins to grow. The Great Fault is a visually plain layer with little environmental variety, yet it is extremely deep and exhausting to traverse, and Riko has to challenge it alone. She hallucinates that the people she cares about telling her that it is enough and that she can't give up. She resists at first, but eventually falls for Liza calling out to her. She imagines herself returning to Earth alongside her mother, celebrated for coming back. But when she notices that Reg is still at the bottom, she realizes that there is no point in returning without him. She screams and frees herself from the hallucinations. Then for the second time, the Splitjaw attacks. Unfortunately, Reg wakes up and uses the blaze rip to strike it. It is strange that the Splitjaw finds them again after the earlier encounter. Perhaps it can track Reg somehow. In this scene, Riko tells Reg that she finally understands how dangerous the abyss truly is and how difficult it is to challenge it. She realizes that having Reg with her is the only reason she is still alive and able to continue descending. Reg feels the same about Riko. Without her knowledge and guidance, he would never have made it this far. This marks a great step toward the new level of value we are about to understand. Ku, the accumulation of value. And the new theme of this arc, love. Please share and subscribe to support this journey. See you in the next episode, The Poison and the Curse.